Think you problem solver, well then fucking roll the dice. Feeling pretty pent up when I'm swerving through the night. Got a million bitches and they're trying to hit my line, and I really wanna
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be doing a read with me vlog. I am really excited. This is my first one, so I'm excited. I do want to throw up the fact that if you have not read this book and you're wanting to read this book, or maybe could want to after a review, you may not want to watch this video until you've had the chance to do so, because it is going to have spoilers. No spoilers at the beginning of this video, but once I leave you guys here, I'm going to be reading this book throughout the day, or probably a couple of days, and vlogging along with it, and the end result is going to be me checking in and letting you guys know how I feel about the book. So if you have read the book, you'll probably enjoy it to kind of see another person's perspective of it and see like if we align a lot with liking characters or liking the story in general, the writing, the author, like all of that. I was watching one of my favorite YouTubers, Haley Barber. I love watching her videos. She always has amazing ideas, so I'm sure I'll be stealing some more in the future, but I seen her do this with the book and I was just so intrigued by it and thought I would give it a go. So that is what I'm doing, but I'm getting my face on this morning. I am just going to be spending some time around the house. It's actually a Saturday. We are going to take the boys outside to play. We got them a slip and slide, and the weather has just been so miserable, it's hard to do anything, so we're just gonna get wet, and then after I after I am soaked, I'm just going to set in the sun to dry and read on the book. So I just put I love the Anastasia Beverly Hills Dip Brow Gel. I've mentioned it a lot on my channel. It's just like my easy go-to brow. It's literally just like my natural brows, but with color, because before you can see that they are like just white. I did put on my SPF from Clear Start. Their Clearing Defense SPF of 30, I believe. And then I just went into the Rare Beauty Illuminating Primer because I love the way it looks on my skin. I'm actually caught up on all of my beauty content, like filming wise, so I was like, I really kind of want to look somewhat decent for this video. So I'm just going to be doing a very, very minimal face with you guys today. Now I'm going to be going into the Pure Cosmetics 4-in-1 Tinted Moisturizer. There's also SPF of 20, but, you know, I'm still just SPF 30 because it kind of cancels out. This is not the video to talk about how SPF works. But I'm going to start applying this to my face, but we're going to talk about the book that I'm reading today. I picked this book up from the library because after a couple of years, I've renewed my card since I'm reading so much. I thought, why not? Let's see what the library has. And you know, I love collecting books, but I'm more so like, I actually love collecting books like this, like thriller, horror books. That's what I love to collect. I feel like if I do really enjoy this, I probably will end up wanting to buy it to have it. But I seen it and it was recommended at the library by one of the library clerks, so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna give it a go, see what I think. And also because most of the books on my list to check out was either checked out already or they did not have them. So I was like, okay, we're gonna give it a go. I have seen this one floating around though, and I've seen good reviews on it. I mean, on the cover it says the first great thriller of 2017 is here, and it's quoted by Stephen King. There's also a quote by Karen Slaughter that it is a terrific read, and those are two authors that I have been currently reading from a lot and enjoy their work, so I'm excited to give it a go. It's not too old either, being in 2017, so I feel like it's going to be a pretty new age read too, as long as it's not like based in like, I think it's supposed to be like a current time based, but pretty much 10 years ago, college student Quincy Carpenter went on vacation with 5 friends and came back alone. The only survivor of a horror movie scale massacre. In an instant, she became a member of a club no one wants to belong to, a group of similar survivors known in the press as the Final Girls. Lisa who lost 9 sorority sisters to a college dropout's knife, Sam, who went up against the sack man during her shift at the Nightlight Inn, and now Quincy, who ran bleeding through the woods to escape Pine Cottage and the man she refers to as only him. The 3 girls are all attempting to put their nightmares behind them, and with that, one another, despite the media's attempts they never met. Now Quincy is doing well, maybe even great thanks to her Xanax prescription. She has a caring almost fiance Jeff, a popular baking blog, a beautiful apartment, and a therapeutic presence in Coop, the police officer who saved her life all those years ago. Her memory won't even allow her to recall the events of that night. The past is in the past. That is, until Lisa, the first final girl, is found dead in her bathtub, wrist slit, and Sam, the second, appears on Quincy's doorstep, blowing through Quincy's life like a whirlwind. Sam sees intent on making Quincy relive the past with increasingly dire consequences, all of which makes Quincy question why Sam has sought her out. And when new details about Lisa's death come to light, Quincy's life becomes a race against time as she tries to unravel Sam's truths from her lies, evade the police and hungry reporters, and most crucially, remember what really happened at Pine Cottage. What was started 10 years ago is finished. After the tinted moisturizer, I went into my Kylie Cosmetics concealer that is still holding on for dear life, barely any product left, and then Ciate London Watermelon Burst setting powder. On the cheeks, I have Dewy Blush from Ciate London as well, and Papaya, and the Ciate London Dewy Stick. We're going for a little like sun-kissed dewy moment. A little MAC Fix Plus to set everything down, and I love these lip balms from Sol de Janeiro. This is their Keep It Rio shade. It's the nude. I forgot the name of the one I love the most, but it's like a almost like a tint of brown. It's really, really pretty though. That's one I normally wear, but I'm pretty sure it's in my car or in my purse. Very simple today though, just to look somewhat decent, and then I just have my hair thrown up in a clip. Tank top because it is miserable outside, and then I actually have just a bikini top underneath my tank top because it's so hot. So I'm really intrigued by this. I've been watching a lot of game playthroughs of The Quarry, and even Until Dawn recently, so I almost feel like it's like that vibe. It's like that like horror movie, like a group of friends at a cabin, or, you know, something like that. Obviously not the exact details of those, but that vibe. It's gonna be, I feel like, almost like, I don't want to say cheesy, but you know what I'm talking about, like those type of like horror movies that involve like a bunch of teenagers that are in the cabin in the woods, that type of, I guess, vibe. Has that element, but then it also has like their life like afterwards, and now like something's happening again type of ordeal. So I'm really excited. I love thrillers and horror books in general, but I've definitely here lately been enjoying them a lot more and haven't been able to stop reading them. I'm pretty sure almost all of my current reads have been horror, thriller, true crime, so it's setting the mood for sure. I also want to note here that I've never read anything from Riley Sager. I think that's how you say the name. It is a standalone, so if I do enjoy it, maybe I'll pick up another one from them as well. But I'm gonna go ahead and get started with it. Get a blanket, some water to stay hydrated, and then go get some sun.
I spill wine all on my white tee, bitches like me. Clips you off the deep end, well bitch I might be. These girls they tryna blind me, fuck out my life please. I ain't got no time if you ain't beside me. Get up 7 AM but I haven't slept in days. Acid on my vocals, that's the price I gotta pay. Karma tryna rob me, all up on me, fuck away. Got the whiz upon me when I come up out the shade.
Back inside. My makeup actually held up, but we came inside and then I took a little break, kind of like cooling down. Marinated some chicken for the grill for tonight for dinner, and then made myself a little bowl of soup. It sounded good. Not the best choice given the weather and how hot I was from coming outside, but it was delish and it gave me some time there to read even more. So I'm like 3 chapters in, and so far, no spoilers. If anything, it's the description. I read the beginning of this. I feel like it's just that. Like, we've established the main character is Quincy, the girl who survived her attack at Pine Cottage, I believe. She goes into a little bit of details about what she does now. She decorates cakes and cupcakes and desserts for her online blog. It doesn't bring in a whole lot of money. She has help from her boyfriend, Jeff. She gets a call from Coop in the midst of all this, who is the detective who found her at the end of the whole massacre that she went through, and who she's kind of relied on throughout the years after it's happened. So he tells her to meet up at their usual place. They go and meet up. This whole time leading up to this, besides introducing her boyfriend, what they're kind of doing, his plane is delayed, so he's not currently home. She's making cupcakes for a Halloween blog that she's working on, so we know that it's fall time. She leaves the house to go to Coop. We figure out where she lives. She lives in New York, and that their usual spot is a cafe. So that's about as far as I can really say right now. Between that, we kind of figure out that most of the events that took place at the Pine Cottage massacre or murders, she's blacked out and doesn't really remember. Dissociative amnesia is what she's diagnosed with, and it's more commonly known as repressed memory syndrome. But like I said, I'm 3 chapters in, and I feel like I just kind of read a more detailed version of the description that I read to you guys at the beginning of this video. I love the storytelling. I'm really vibing with the author, and yeah, I think I'm really going to enjoy his work. I definitely want to see like how the book wraps up in the end, because like I said, I do at the same time feel like I just read the description of it and I'm already like 3 chapters in, so I kind of wish for like a little bit more. The description itself kind of gives, I feel like, a lot of way, to the point to where I'm still like intrigued to keep reading. Like, I'm already invested in the story and I want to know what happens next. The only other thing or only comment that I have here is the fact that starting into the book, I'm just like, oh, so we really are just starting into her life after everything, where I feel like from a horror and thriller standpoint, I would have really liked to know more like what happened the night at Pine Cottage, because you do have your little beginning. Before you jump into the chapters, you have what it says, Pine Cottage, 1 a.m. And it is literally like the final moments of the showdown. We're not reading the story of what happened that night. And I'm thinking this almost feels like a sequel. But I kept reading, and I'm happy to say that instead of chapter 4, once I turned the last page on chapter 3, it says Pine Cottage, 3:37 p.m. So it's starting from the beginning of, I'm assuming, of when everything goes down at Pine Cottage. So that I'm really excited for, because I felt like while reading it, besides wanting more, besides the descriptor, I'm like, okay, I kind of feel like I've read this already. I want more to the story now. Besides that, which I know is to come, was just the fact that I felt like they were leaving out so much with Pine Cottage and what went down there. So I'm really excited that now it's jumping back into time. Besides that, when it is just talking about her, it's still kind of talking about her life now as a survivor, and how much she hates it and just wants to be normal. She doesn't want to be a final girl.
Trying to find me, wanna fly out for the dick. 3 times a boyfriend tried me, had to tell them they ain't shit. What be blowing up my
I'm at chapter 11 now. So I've read 10 chapters, plus there's only been 2 little like inserts of like Pine Cottage at so-and-so time. So there's only been like 2 flashbacks so far. The one that I mentioned at the last check-in, and then 1 extra, which I'm not gonna lie, I think that's a little disappointing. The last one though that I just finished reading, this last flashback though, was pretty juicy, and I feel like it definitely is building that story. But it's almost like, don't get me wrong, like I'm enjoying the story of her like afterlife, and there's definitely more going on now, so it's definitely like interesting, but there's still a part of me that's like enjoying the flashbacks a lot more, and I wish that there was more to it. So, but the last flashback is already 5 p.m. and then I think it's like 1 a.m. is when the night was over and she was like rescued. The way they describe her, I absolutely love, but come to find out, it's Samantha Boyd. She is the other final girl, because there was 3 total. Now with Lisa taking her life, there's only Quincy and Samantha Boyd. So we get to learn more about Samantha in these last chapters, about her story of the, oh, what was his term? I think it was like the sack man or something like that. He wore like a brown bag sack over his head. I'm really liking her character. She's very edgy and very different. Like, you can tell she's been through some shit, but I really like the vibe that I'm getting from her. I don't know, like, I just feel like she's already like a trusted person. And usually, like in this situation, each person, like as soon as they introduced Jeff, Quincy's boyfriend, who she didn't meet until like years after her own attack, I was just like, could he be involved? You know, like, I just don't trust anybody in books like this, because I'm just like, they could be somebody like up to something. And so I don't know if you've read this. I don't know if it's just me, but like I'm like I said, I'm only to chapter 11, but Jeff is kind of an asshole and I'm not really vibing with him right now. He's kind of like pissing me off. Like, I feel like he's just constantly saying like the shittiest things. Of course it's gonna be in like a book like this, but it still just kind of pisses me off, and I'm like, girl, why are you with this guy? Why? I feel like it made him out to be like this like really good guy, although I think I forgot to mention in the first part that he is a lawyer. He's a public defender right now, so like he's working with like a case that this guy is being like charged with murdering some people. We don't know much more about that yet. I don't know if they're going to have more details about his case that he's working on. All we know is that it's very, very important to him. Now, the last flashback was very juicy because it literally is like watching, like I said, like The Quarry or Until Dawn, those video games. It's just like that, where it's still like that cabin in the woods. It's like spooky. Like, they go for a hike and it's just like a bunch of these like college kids, and that back and forth where you're really seeing this group of people and like what each one is bringing to the story. So it's really interesting in that case, and they of course like hurry back, and then there's this weird guy looking in their cabin, and I don't know, he says his car broke down. Who is this person? We haven't really seen him around here. He says his car broke down, but then they're ultimately nice to him and invite him in and to party with them for Janelle, one of the girls' birthdays. So it's her birthday, and apparently she's best friends with Quincy. So she is, unfortunately, Quincy's friend who dies. I definitely am giving like almost everything away, but I'm really enjoying it, and still like the style of the writing and everything. It's just like a little back and forth, and there's parts here and there and I'm just like, about. But it is a little bit later during my day. I don't know how much more I'm going to read tonight on this. So this might be it for the day, filming wise, because I need to get my kids in the tub, but we will pick up on it another day and keep continuing this little read with me vlog. All right, we're on day 2 of reading Final Girls. All right, so I wanted to sit down to update you guys because I just finished filming my challenge, reading 7 books for 7 days. So pretty much just to sum it up, each day I started a new book and I read as much of it as I could throughout my day. And then the next day I put down that one and started a new one and did that for 7 days until the end. And then at the end of the 7 days, I showed which ones I finished, which ones I didn't finish, and out of the ones I didn't finish because it was a busy week, I showed which ones I was most intrigued to jump back into, and right up on the list was Final Girls. So the first part of this video was actually a part of that challenge where this was one of my picks, so that's why this might be like a little deja vu moment, but I was really intrigued by this book and wanted to do a read with me vlog, so that is why we're here. But it has been, I think, 3 days ago since I have picked up this book and read it. I'm on day 7 of my challenge and I just did like a manga, like a short read for my day 7 so that I could wrap up that video and jump back into this video. So I feel like if I don't finish it today, I'll more than likely finish it tomorrow. So yeah, this is on the agenda for the next couple days.
I spill one all on my white tee, bitches like me.
Hey guys, good morning. I'm sitting here with my latte, trying to wake up to take on the day, so don't mind the crazy hair. I stayed up pretty late last night working on a few different things, including reading, so I did make it about halfway through this book, all the other half to get through today. But it felt really nice just getting in some reading time yesterday. And I can say my thoughts have changed a lot on these characters. And I think the book as a whole, too, I feel like I don't want to judge it too much, so I will save that for the end of this video. But so far, I just kind of feel like there could be so much more to it. And, I just feel like the book, I guess, has so much potential to be, really, really good. She got that email. And so you kind of have that going on where it's just okay, but we've kind of already known this the whole time. Nothing new. And my view on Samantha, Sam Boyd, has definitely changed. I really liked her, and I still do. There's a part of me that still really likes her, but at the same time, I don't know. I feel like it can't be her. That would be a good twist if it was her. But I honestly feel like that would be an easy out, I guess, in a way, to where I don't think that they're going to make her the one that's, wants to be, the only final girl. I don't know. But I feel like that's going to come into play real soon, where her and Quincy are probably going to get, in a heated argument, and Quincy's going to maybe say something like, oh my gosh, is it you? Did you do it? Blah, 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 blah. Maybe not, but I kind of feel like that's where we're heading. I can see where Sam's coming from, but I don't think you have to down pills and go shoplift to get to those emotions. So, yeah, it's just been very weird so far. The character development is wild. I'm just what? We also have the cop, Coop. He's, in visiting them. He wants to meet Sam, too, because he's Jeff. He's, a little worried, I don't know. So you can, I'm does this guy like Quincy, or does he not like Quincy? Is he just in it for his job, or is he in it for more? Because it's starting to seem like more. And then he, starts, I guess, almost getting close with Sam. And Sam is, here for it, and she's, flirting back. All the while, she's telling Quincy, am I doing a good job? I'm trying to look like I'm a sane person, blah, 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 blah. But, Quincy's getting jealous. And I'm like, girl, you're with Jeff. Do you like Jeff, or do you like Coop? It's just, yeah. Character development so far is just really strange. I don't know. I still want to finish it, but I'm at just a very odd point. am on page 307 out of 339. So I'm at like the final stretch of it. It's getting like intense. I can say, I feel like once you get to about the halfway point of this book, from there it's like a page turner. Like you are so invested in it by then. But I think this video is gonna be so much fun for me to go back and edit and like see my thoughts at the beginning of this book towards now. Because it's insane. Again, the character development is wild. And I just love that aspect of it. There's a part of me, and again, I still have like 30 something pages left, but there's still a part of me that is still wanting more. So again, since there's spoilers all the way through this, plenty has already been ruined for you if you haven't read this, but if you have read it and you're just here for the reaction, you guys, I'm really, really shipping Quincy and Cooper. I'm just shipping them so hard, and I know that she's with Jeff. I know that, but it's like she seems so unhappy and so unsatisfied in the relationship, and I feel like Cooper is like the perfect match for her, but I'm still just like, I don't know, I feel like Cooper's character is just very, I feel like we just don't know enough, and I'm to the point of the book to where I'm like, I don't trust any of these people, because for a second they have you thinking that like Quincy Quincy was the one that, you know, killed all of her friends. They really have you thinking that. And then at the same time, you're just like, there's no way. Again, would have been a huge twist, but there's no way. And then just knowing like her little involvement into it, and that, I mean, typically she wanted to, but it was just, she was so like hurt. I do really like the aspect that as it's slowly feeding information from like these flashbacks to current, how, you know, she walks in on Coop and Samantha, you know, about to do the deed, and then it goes straight to the flashback of her and Craig and how it was like her first time, and she was like really like nervous about it. She wanted it to be special, and then he was like the biggest douchebag, leaving her and then going out into the woods just to do it with her best friend. Whatever. They met their fate at that point. It's so shitty. But I did kind of like that it showed that tied in together to a way to where it's really everything she's currently going through is repressing everything from the past, which is exactly what Sam is wanting, because I just found out. And you know what? I kind of figured this. When Sam was first arrested, they had to go and like bail her out or whatever, and they said like, oh, she changed her name to this like Tina, what is it? Tina Stone? Was that it? I don't know. I know it's Tina. It's like, okay, you know, like for her privacy or whatever, that's how she fell off the radar. And I'm like, all right, you know, I can buy it because it is a book, you know, like I'll buy it because whatever the case may be. But there was still that part of me that was just like, what if this isn't Samantha? And I kept thinking that. I'm like, I don't think this is the real Samantha. I don't know, but now we know that it's not the real Samantha Boyd. It's actually this like Tina Stone person who was at the same home for psychiatric patients, and we know that she was one of them now, but when they closed down due to everything that happened at Pine Cottage, she was pretty much just like kicked out onto the streets, and she had a very, very hard past life as well. So that kind of shows, I like that it showed that though, to let us know like why she's so rugged around the edges and what all she's been through, and come to find out that the he and him that, you know, Quincy refers to and is not able to say his name was actually like her best friend, and what I'm gathering is also like a lover of hers that she had while she was at that like hospital. And so now it's like she wanted to just get to the bottom of it, and that's why she started all of this. But she still is claiming that she didn't kill Lisa. So that's the only thing, like all of it's falling into places for me now, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like it's a page turner. Like I'm hooked. I want to know what happens. But the only things that I am still for the people who have read this that I'm still just like wondering about so far is like, she claims she didn't kill Lisa. Like, she's like saying it over and over again. Like, her and Coop hook up, and I'm just like, it's just very weird. And then he's just like gone the next day. There's like nothing else more about it. I'm like, this is really not planning out like the way I wanted to. She goes back to confront Sam, and I'm like, okay, maybe like after confronting her and stuff. She also meets up with the news reporter guy, I can't remember his name, and he gives her all the details about this Tina Stone. So now she knows she's not the real Samantha. And then my last thing is about Quincy's rage fit and then almost like beating a guy to death in Central Park. Like, I just feel like it was a curveball in the story that you're just kind of like, what is even going on right now? Like, why is this a part of the story? I don't know. Just very weird reading that part. Because I was just like, okay. But I guess it did make you believe a little bit more that Quincy could have been capable of doing the Pine Cottage murders. I don't know. Either way, I'm finishing this book tonight, so I will check back in with you guys tonight to wrap up my thoughts on like the ending, or I'll do it tomorrow when maybe I look a little bit more prettier. Alright, you guys. Let's wrap this up. I finished it last night, and I was going to come back in here because my mind was just... So I wanted to come back in here and film, but I was also like so mad that I was like, I'm just throwing out the whole video. I'm not editing it. I'm not posting it. It was a really, really good book for a video like this because there's so many twists and turns. And I felt like while I was reading it, you know, I kept kind of judging it on the fact that like not a whole lot's happening. And I'm like, when is something like going to pick up? Like, I felt like I was halfway through the book and I'm like, I feel like I've just read a detailed version of what's on, you know, the inside right there that you read before you start the book, like the summary of the book. Like, okay, I've read half of this book, like give me more. But little did I know that like how many like twists and turns were actually already forming and happening in the book, because I know when I sat down to edit this video, I'm going to be laughing my ass off at how ridiculous I was, because I would just be like, oh my gosh, I love Sam. And then like the next part is like, I don't know, she's kind of shady. And then the next part I'm just like, oh, I really like her though. And now I'm like, wasn't even Sam like all along. But what I can say is, you know, we all know if you've read this, or now you're gonna know because I've spoiled it through this whole video, but I gave you guys warnings. It was Tina. She's actually the friend of the guy who escaped from the psychiatric, you know, place that Detective Coop was like looking for, who all along was known as the killer who killed all those, you know, people at the cabin. She was friends with him. She wanted to get to the bottom of it, and come to find out it's because she wanted to prove him not guilty of those crimes, although he was shot and killed at the scene and, you know, made out to be the killer. And in the end, she's a tad much, but I still kind of like her character. I kind of liked her. I thought she was kind of badass in moments. She took it way too far a lot of the time, but I don't know. I still kind of vibed with her at a certain point. And I feel like she just had so much, like, she really went through some shit that just made her the person she was. So Quincy back to Pine Cottage where it all happened, but of course her memories start coming back of everything that took place. She's secretly trying to text Coop, who's always protect her, and again I feel stupid because I'm just like, I ship them. I really ship them. And then she texts him, tells her where she's at, and that, you know, Tina has her. Everything unfolds, and as soon as it kind of clicks in Quincy's like head that it was actually Coop who did all of it, that's when everything just kind of it's like too late, and he's there at the cabin, he makes it just right in time, shoots Tina. I think this process is what makes this book so good for me, because I was able to really document my feelings all the way through it. And now looking back at that, I'm just like, oh my gosh, there was so many good twists to this book that you just don't really know is going on at that moment. And yeah, I'm happy I got to take you guys along with me while I just made a fool out of myself the entire time. I'm usually like really good. I feel like I like mysteries or true crime books and stuff like that. Like, I feel like not even halfway through the book, I'm like, oh, they did it. I know it's going to end up being this, and then I'm like, yep, you know, most of it is right. But man, this one was just really good. It just makes me very eager to pick up another one from him. I'm really excited to. And although I can still say with past Ally, one of my check-ins saying like, this book has so much potential to be even better, I still stand by that. I think it could have still been better. I would have loved a little bit more from the flashbacks or a little bit more going on than what we got there. Because I feel like that was some of the like most interesting part of this book. I think I would have liked the majority of the book to have been in the past and then maybe jump forward. I don't know. There's just like, again, just more potential there. But I still wanted to wrap up this video in case I do decide to go ahead and edit it and post it for you guys, because I have a lot of footage to get through with it, and I still think it's really funny. I think it could be entertaining, especially for people who have read this book and are just like, oh my gosh, this poor girl. Hopefully nobody comes at me or anything, but low-key, I was still kind of shipping Coop and Quincy though, not gonna lie. But I am kind of glad like her and Jeff just kind of like parted ways though. I think it was needed. Like they just were, I feel like he was just kind of like a safety blanket for her, and not that he's like a bad person or anything. I just don't think they really meshed very well together. He wasn't very understanding of a lot of things. So yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. More book content will be coming. I'm probably going to be like bombarding you guys with it because I've been reading so much, but I hope you guys are enjoying. But other content is still to come as well, so stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I will see you in my next video.